When I was a kid, there was no such thing as a mint condition comic book. Oh, sure, they were out there somewhere. History and the secondary market have shown us that. But within my meager sphere, comics were almost exclusively well loved. As a term, it was as forgiving as we kids when it came to condition. Features of a well loved comic might include, but are not limited to, rolled spines, creased covers, loose, rusty, or missing staples, stained pages, handwriting, removed coupons or value stamps, water damage, sun fading, and the occasional bite mark. Growing up, a mint condition comic was the rarest bird of them all, as that meant the book had never been read. What kind of weirdo was buying comics and then not reading them? And it's a good thing those weirdos were out there, as I read the living hell out of my original batch of comics. Back then, condition was the least of my concerns. The only thing that went into plastic bags were peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and backer boards were what the basketball hoop was attached to. I didn't think about keeping my comics perfect. I was focused on the thrill, on the depth and breadth of the comics experience. Issues like dog-eared corners and cat fur simply came with the territory. They certainly couldn't dissuade me from at least reading the damn things. I'm not exaggerating when I say I fished comic books out of gutters, trash cans, and burned down houses. I'm shameless, and over time I've accepted this as a good thing. Say what you will, it's hard to argue with passion. I got that in spades, baby. Oh sure, that wasn't always the case. There was a time, like many of you, that I lost my way. Those were the crazy days. Back when I kept a copy of previews under my pillow and my pull list was bigger than my paycheck. I was buying books before they even came out, committing to series after series without a backward glance. Plasm? Sounds cool, count me in. Satan 6? I'll have that. Rune? Why not? There was no reason to think that this stuff wouldn't be great. I mean, you had Jim Shooter, Jack Kirby, Barry Smith. Except it wasn't, really. Sure, I finally had the money to buy a prestige bag issue of Leonard Nimoy's Primordial 1 with the trading card, but the actual comic inside? Pretty forgettable. If I knew then what I know now, I would have shifted my focus. I would have suspended my pull list, dialed my purchases back, and reconsidered just what it was I loved about the hobby before chucking the whole thing and walking away. Unfortunately, walk away is what I did. I sold off my second collection and spent the next few years writing about toys and action figures for the whoosh.com. In that time, I developed my photography skills and learned how to scratch build dioramas, creating my own series of photo comics. I had my childhood heroes in the palm of my hand, and yet something was missing. I began collecting again almost by accident, amassing a huge pile of random comics one weekend at a toy show. In my previous life as a collector, I stuck primarily with the books I'd been reading since I was a kid, like Spider-Man, Batman, and other safe bets, but that meant I missed a lot of stuff the first time around. I discovered that it was far more rewarding to take a chance than it was to plug away on those same titles. Sure, I still pick those up too, but it's the random books I purchase that give me the biggest thrill. And since I'm not in a position to pay $100 for a near-mint copy of Crime and Punishment 56, it's a reader copy for me all the way. Magic is at best temporal. Its true power is in its ability to transcend the mundane, to allow us, if only for a moment, the option of perceiving something beyond the stated and the obvious. It's not a quantity that can be bought and sold. For me, that magic that a comic book holds is in no way diminished by its condition. It needs to be complete, of course. Even I'd be hard-pressed to defend a book that was missing pages or had been defaced in some way as to ruin the reading experience. I'm not about to purchase a comic book that stinks or could possibly expose the rest of my collection to damage. However, aside from these basic considerations, I take them as they come. After all, it's not what's on the surface that counts, but the things you find on the inside. And I'm not talking about bits of food, stray hair, or certain combustible, cannabinoid-infused organic materials. These usually tend to be found in issues of Jim Starlin's Warlock. It's the content of the comic in question, not whatever crunchy bonuses you discover inside. Before I threw in with beta readers, I didn't have any books by Charles Biro, Wally Wood, or Barry Windsor Smith. Books by creators of such critical acclaim have always commanded high prices, making them hard to just read. Back before trade paperbacks and digital downloads, beta readers were the way, the truth, and the light for the perpetually skint old guy like me. In fact, they still are. No, I've told you the why, but you're here for the how, right? I know, I can tell. A bright kid like you, ready to get your fingers dirty with some of that fine old newsprint. You want the inside line, the skinny, the dope, the straight poop. I need to cut it with the balloon juice and make with the goods. I get that. You want to know. Where do I get beta readers? Well, the same place that I get them. Flea markets, garage sales, thrift and antique stores. There's classified ads, Craigslist, and the Facebook Marketplace, as well as the dreaded Bay of E. Half Price Books has them, along with The Exchange, and other stores that sell pop culture crap. And that's not even mentioning your own local comic shop or any of the conventions that may pop up in your area. The key is to get out there. Like the man says, you gotta play to win. Those low-grade beauties aren't just gonna show up on your door. You gotta go out and you gotta hunt them down. Are you gonna score every time? Of course not. But with a little legwork and a lot of patience, you can build a nice little library of readers, just like Mike. Beta readers are not for everyone. Some folk may just prefer to have the titles they want to read in trades or as computer files. Others may not like the idea of someone else's dirty old comics mixing with their own, or they just want the nicest quality copies possible. There are as many approaches as there are comic collectors, and what works for me may not work for you. However, if you simply like to read as many comics as possible, or you're looking to discover titles that are too expensive or rare to buy otherwise, beta readers may be worth a look. But don't take my word for it. The next time you see a dollar box, take a lucky dip and see what you get. You may be surprised. I know I was. For the Old Guys Who Like Old Comics Network, I'm Jason Mink. Thanks for watching.